doing that approach, we're now thinking about which use cases could be interesting to our customers. We talk a lot with our customers, and we also do a lot of research at Marketplace and in the ecosystem to see what use cases could be spec'd in which ways. And our goal is to do 10 use cases this year. Let's see if we can do it, but we do have plenty of ideas. Like, you can think about HR service management and incident management or DevOps use cases. And we just want to give our users the opportunity to configure it for their specific use cases, even if there are multiple ones in their company.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Summer of Atlassian 4.0. Today I have two special guests over from Yasoon. We have Anke and Britta joining us, and we're going to be talking about what I'm assuming is a lot of Microsoft stuff. And maybe a lot of Atlassian, and maybe a lot of just teamwork.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Hi.
How are you two doing?
We're fine.
So far, so good. We had a few busy weeks, but keeps going. Feels good.
Well, I mean, when you're shipping a package as awesome as the one that you sent me, I can understand why you have busy weeks.
Yeah, and that actually was one of my highlights because I was imagining you unpacking it. So
Were you? Okay, so here's the thing. So I've been wanting to do an unboxing video for forever.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, how do you unbox Jira? Because you can't.
That's a challenge, actually.
It is. And so one time I did a video where, like, Atlassian, because I think you're a creator too, right, Brita? Now you're an Atlassian creator,
Community champion, but in the very early stage.
Yeah, they're all a blur nowadays. I think they just grouped them all together. But anyways, I started off as a creator, and so about, I want to say, a year ago, they gave us a challenge of, like, what's in your bag. And so we had to, like, pull things out of our bag, and one of them was like Jira and Confluence. But I was like, well, how do you pull out Jira out of a bag?
I fully understand. Next time I will send you a package, I will add more suites because I thought I could do better on the suites part.
Oh my gosh, those suites are gone. They're not to be found anywhere. The little, I don't know what they were in the Kinder one. Those I think I turned around and they were gone. They were just gone.
Oh, those are really delicious. I like them too.
The ones I did not think I was going to enjoy, but found tremendous amount of joy in them were the little yogurt ones.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I like.
I thought they were not going to be good at all, but oh my gosh, those things just hit differently.
It's addictive.
Very. So I'll be in Barcelona in like 4 months.
We'll think about it. Noted.
I'm assuming Yasoon's gonna be in Barcelona as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We just booked Premiere.
Yeah,
we have a big booth again in Barcelona.
Okay.
This is one of the main skills people need when they come to our company, that they can click really fast to book booth, to be really fast at booth selection.
Is there that much demand for a booth at a team conference?
For Barcelona, I think it's not as competitive, but for Anaheim or former Las Vegas, it was first come, first serve, and I was practicing the clicking skill. On the weekends, I was just randomly clicking super fast. So yeah, but Barcelona, I think, was better.
Yeah, I heard that Barcelona was usually a little bit smaller and a little bit more partner heavy, and Anaheim's a little bit more customer heavy, but also a lot bigger.
But yeah, but also Barcelona was the first Team Europe last year in a long time. So we hope that now customers pick up a little, and some of our customers even said they don't went to Anaheim because there now is a Team Europe and they can go to Team Europe. So I hope that it shifts a little from partners to customers. But I also like the ecosystem, so it's fine for us anyway.
Well, I'm excited. This is not only my first Team Europe, but it's also my first time out of the United States.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like ever?
Well, so I was 6 years old when I went to Mexico the last time. but I was so little, I have no memories whatsoever.
Okay.
And I remember just going for like a day or two because we went to a wedding, but and I was just such a little kid that the only thing I remember very vividly is that I almost stayed in Mexico
Oh no.
because my name is Alex legally, but
Mhm.
in Spanish people like to call it Alejandro.
Mhm.
And for
Yeah.
some reason, my ticket said Alejandro, but all my paperwork said Alex. And they're like, "This is not the same kid." And my mom, I just remember my mom arguing, like, "No, this is my kid, and he's got to come back home."
Oh,
So I think
gee.
that traumatized me for life to never want to travel.
Oh, damn.
But
But
I
yeah,
will say my adult life and my what I can actually remember will be the first time I go.
okay, crazy. But do you do like a road trip then and enjoy Europe as much as you can, or is it just in and out Barcelona?
I don't know. I've been flirting with the idea of going to Disneyland Paris,
Okay. To
and
get a
that's
comparison to Anaheim.
yeah, because I grew up, I've been to Disneyland like 200 times, more than 200 times at this point, and so Disneyland is dear near to my heart, and I'm like, when am I ever gonna make it out to Europe again to go try that one out? So
It should be on your bucket list. That's right.
it is, yeah, no, it definitely is. So I'm the only problem is like here in the United States, public transportation is not good,
Mhm.
right? I don't know how you all got around when you came to Anaheim, but if you weren't driving, you weren't getting somewhere.
Uber all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I didn't grow up relying or even till today, I don't rely on anybody but myself and my car to get from point A to point B. And so the concept and idea of taking trains and buses and stuff, I'm like, I don't know.
But they do have Ubers in Barcelona as well. I remember last time we were also getting around with Ubers. So
Okay. Well, that's the thing, but see, that's the thing though. Like I don't take an Uber anywhere here, so like I couldn't even tell you how to get an Uber.
I can tell you. I will bring you sweets and tell you how to Uber.
I need an Uber 101 guide. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just yeah, again, like I said, public transportation is just such a foreign concept to me. My wife doesn't drive. She never had a driver's license.
Mhm.
So for her, public transportation is the only way that she got around.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
remember the first time that she took me on a bus to go to the beach. The beach from my school from my university was like 5 minutes away.
Okay.
In a car, but in the bus it was like 20, 30 minutes. And I remember she dragged me and a bunch of friends into a bus, and I'm like, "Are you sure? Like, I have a car, we can drive. Like, I know how to do this driving thing." And she's like,
Uh,
"No, no, no, we'll take the bus because it was free. It was free for students." And I'm like, "No, I don't know about that bus thing." And I just remember sitting in the back of the bus, and she's like, "Are you okay? You look like you're gonna die." And I'm like, "I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I in a bus?"
Yeah, but it's the same for me actually. In Germany, I do everything by bike. So I ride my bicycle a lot. You
Okay.
ride it also a lot. And I try to do as many of the traveling, or when I have to go somewhere, I go by bike. I just first
Mm.
look how far is it if I like ride my bicycle. And it brings me quite far, I have to say.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, if you want to ride your bicycle here, you basically that's the last day that you had of life.
yeah, exactly.
'Cause you're not gonna not end up in an emergency room. People
Yeah,
don't know how to respect bikes here.
it is very different here in Europe, definitely. So we don't even own a car, and we do everything by bike. And we like have a car sharing system here in our city that we can use, but also public transport is really strong, and you can go by train in every city in Europe, actually. So
Oh
yeah,
man, I own 4 cars and only one person in my family can drive, so I gotta back up to the backup to the backup
just
just
to be
in case,
sure. Yeah.
just to make sure.
Yeah, it's quite different. But I
Well,
love Barcelona. I'm so excited for it.
it's gonna be an experience. We will see. I will have to step out of my comfort zone to get myself to Paris, and I will have to plan it out before we get there.
Yeah, I'm excited for a lot of vlogging then.
Yeah, but back to the unboxing video again. Thank you so much again for that, because like I said, I always wanted to do an unboxing, and when I saw this package, I opened it up and I'm like, wait, I could be doing something better here. And what I'm gonna do is my wife told me we should do this. When I went to do the unboxing, I didn't want to show my address, so I have it upside down, but I'd already opened it. So when I'm doing the unboxing, I'm like, I got the package here, and everything fell out,
Jeez.
and it's on video.
Okay.
Package.
So you have to train. So we have to send you some more packages.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, also for us, it's quite like from time to time we have to switch up swag. Every conference means new swag, which means new possibilities to send out packages.
There you go. I just wanted to thank you again for that opportunity, because like that video on YouTube, like as a short, I'm like, it's one of my better YouTube shorts. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's interesting. I was like, do people really want to watch more unboxings?
Yeah, but I can imagine that being an influencer in the Atlassian ecosystem is usually you have those lifestyle-y videos, and if you don't have the lifestyle videos, how would you rank in the lifestyle competition of other conferences?
I don't know. I've been content creation has been like top of my mind recently. Because like I go to Disneyland a lot, and we've been filming a lot of videos, so we've been making a lot of Disney appropriate videos. But with that last one and with Jira, like it's so technical, right? I'm like, how do I make this stuff interesting? Because there's only so many ways you can say, well, this is how you add a status in Jira, right?
Yeah, and also like Jira users, Jira admins, there are also people with like random interests. So,
but
well,
the thing is that
so you're
Atlassian
like,
change it up eventually. So there's always new content to do.
yeah. Well, I'll give you a teaser. I'll give you a first look. Well, I guess I can't show it to you yet because it's not ready. But um, did you ever watch the "I'm a PC and I'm a Mac" commercials from early 2000s? So I started doing that. So this past weekend, I put on my Jira shirt, and my son and my wife, my two boys and my wife helped me out, and I'm like, I'm Jira, I help you be accountable. And then my son's like, I'm chaos, I don't know how to organize anything.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, great.
And then I'm like, I'm Jira, I can help you with that.
Oh, that's so cute.
So we're gonna try that. We're gonna see how that goes, but it's a different style where we're animating out typical scenarios that Jira helps you out with. So we might have to do like I'm Microsoft 365 connector. Yasoon.
Actually, when you talk about your son being chaos, we had a hackathon last week, and one idea was a Jira family planner, how to plan, organize your family with Jira. We didn't fully spec it, but I saw a lot of potential in there. So like,
it's an interesting thing, right? Because as Atlassian is moving, shifting away from developer to Jira for all, Jira for everything, there's certain capabilities that end user just doesn't know how to do things technically, right? Like they need the most basic way to interact with the tool. And it's interesting you bring up a planner, because Trello recently got an update where they have like a planner mode. Of course, that stuff doesn't make it over to Jira, but Jira is like the cool tool, right? And so I think so. My wife homeschools the kids, so we're looking at it from a homeschooling perspective to do the planning, because there's so many events, homeworks, assignments that we all need to coordinate as a family, that trying to put it into Jira it's okay, but it just does it's something's missing. So I'd be curious to see what if you guys ever do something on it, to see if it helps solve that problem.
Yeah, I mean, everything related to communication and integrating and putting people's plans into a great perspective is, it's our hot topic.
So let's shift into then to y'all, because we're like 12 minutes into this. What do y'all do, and what role do you play in the Atlassian ecosystem?
You go first.
Okay. So I'm COO at Yasoon. My husband and his friend Andreas founded the company about 14 years ago, and I joined about 6 years ago because marketing was so bad. Someone had to do it. So yeah, and since then I just worked a lot in different kinds of aspects of our company. I'm now in a COO role where I not only do marketing, but also like do our ISO certification, SOC 2 certification, and do a lot of management stuff that just our company keeps running. So that's my role. And then the Atlassian ecosystem, I mean, Yasoon as a vendor is obviously a great big part in the Atlassian ecosystem. And for me, it's always a great opportunity to meet everyone at the conferences. Last year, 2 years ago, was my first team ever. So it was really exciting for me to really get a glimpse of everyone in the ecosystem, because I just met them all remote, and with COVID and such, it was even stronger, obviously, with the remote thing. And just to get a feel of, okay, that is the ecosystem, and I can connect with people, I can share my thoughts, and the ecosystem is such a nice place to be in. It's not like an elbow thing and everyone hates each other. It's really like a collaborative community, and it was very great for me to be part of that, and is very great for me. So yeah.
So I remember running into the Yasoon booth 2 years ago at Team in Vegas. You guys quadrupled in size.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been along that way from our company since we first founded, and there were just those two people, like Toby and Andy, in an office in a random office building. Like, they had a desk stapled with work, and to see where our road was and where we are now, that 14 years later, it is crazy to me.
Yeah.
It was just a long journey, a really long journey, and also, like, I can't even imagine that a couple of years ago we were just a small group of people, and now we're so many, and it's great to have that team, and to have that place in the ecosystem.
Awesome, and Brita, and we're gonna come back to that, because one of the first things I want to start talking about is you as a company are shifting a little bit. So we're gonna talk about that as soon as we hear from Brita.
Yeah, so my name is Britta. I'm a business director business development, and I work in our team. I joined after Anke. Anke brought me on board, and I've been with Yasoon for 4.5 years now. I like to say 5 years now. It feels like 5 years.
That's a career. That's a long time.
Yeah, it also, for me, it was I joined this, or I still enjoy the growth of Yasoon. So when I started, we were in a different office. We now have a different office space. We have so many more new colleagues. We have so many more features coming. And as being first, I started in a marketing role, but with new features, new product updates coming, and the ecosystem also evolving, my job role also evolved. So I strongly work together with Anke when it comes to strategy and communication, working together with great content creators. And yeah,
I don't know about that.
You said that. But yeah, I really enjoy the Atlassian community. So therefore, also I joined as a community champion now, together with Holly from AppFire. We are starting the Atlassian community for women. We're still in the planning phase, but there will also be an event upcoming in Barcelona. And yeah, this just shows me that I'm really excited for the vibrant community, and I enjoy it a lot.
I think that's awesome. Yeah. We're definitely going to talk about that effort with the Atlassian for Women bit in a few minutes. But I think it's such a cool thing, because I didn't realize how big. Like, sometimes, like, you stay kind of small. Like, my view of the world is usually kind of small, right? I've never left the United States, but then you step back and you look at, like, wow, there's like millions and millions of users here, millions and millions of people that are using the Atlassian tools, and yeah, there's a lot of women that are very, very involved. Like, usually you hear a lot from the men, but definitely need a lot of representation here from the women.
Yeah.
So you all are shifting, though, right? Actually, before we get into that, I wanted to just remind folks watching this from my channel here, from my audience, that your videos from last year, and even we were 2023 as well, right? We did 23 and 24. They're the connectors with the Microsoft 365 suite of products, right? So we're talking Outlook and Teams, and being able to create email or meetings from within a Jira ticket, being able to carry a Teams conversation, context aware with your tickets as they're inside of Jira, without having to change your context. That was awesome, and they performed really, really well. Now, my understanding is you guys are shifting as a company, right? You want to talk a little bit about that?
I mean, it's not that we lose everything we already have. It's more like we want to structure it a little bit differently. So in the past, we already developed a ton of features. And with that deep integration between Microsoft and Jira, there are also a lot of customers who say, oh, this feature would really benefit me. And this feature in that use case would just make everything a lot better. And we listened to our customers and we built a lot of features. And with that came a lot of settings. And it made our solution very flexible, but also a little bit complex to understand right out of the box. So what we're doing now is put use cases on top of that configuration opportunities. So when we say use cases, we, for example, mean like an internal ticketing case. You go then to your getting started page and you can click through internal ticketing and you just see every aspect of your workflow you already know in internal ticketing, like customer communication and how to raise a request. And then we suggest the features that fit into your use case, and we already pre-configured them for you. You can adjust them. That's no problem, because we don't aim to know every workflow of every company. Obviously, there are differences. But we want to make it a lot easier to get started right at the point where you are already working. So if you're already thinking about how can I make my internal ticketing case better, then we guide you through everything in one page. You don't have to click through all the settings and all the places of the app. So this is kind of what we're doing. And doing that approach, we're now thinking about which use cases could be interesting to our customers. We talk a lot with our customers, and we also do a lot of research at Marketplace and in the ecosystem to see what use cases could be spec'd in which ways. And our goal is to do 10 use cases this year. Let's see if we can do it, but we do have plenty of ideas. Like, you can think about HR service management and incident management or DevOps use cases. And we just want to give our users the opportunity to configure it for their specific use cases, even if there are multiple ones in their company. So yeah, this is kind of the strategy shift we're currently talking about. Not to think about so many fringe features, but more to see the big picture of how we can make it more clear, our solution a lot more clearer, and to add then features to specific use cases that are still missing.
Yeah, that's so critical because a tool can be overwhelming, and we kind of talked a little bit about not trusting that user to do the right thing, right? Because it's just
Yeah.
when you have so many buttons to click and so many opportunities, so many different paths that you can take your solution with, like a lot of people are like, well, shoot, where do I start? Like,
Yeah.
where do I start clicking, right? And it can be very, very not only overwhelming, but also like numbing, where you don't even know where to start, and you
Yeah,
don't start. Period.
yeah, true.
And there might still be some users who only want to use like a minor tweak or like a minor feature, or they just want to have the Teams chat in one of their work items, and they can still do that. But I think the approach to show and to bring light to the features that can be used comprehensively, I think is just giving more like insight into the product. Which is quite like, it's growing constantly, and it's also talking to partners, solution partners. We've learned so much, like how companies or enterprise companies are working with our app, and to share this knowledge with all our customers it's just, I think, one major step for the next years.
Yeah. I mean, we do have a lot of power users who definitely know every single setting of our app. And if you talk to them, they are like, oh yeah, maybe we can get another setting in this, because in that use case, that would make really sense to me. And those are great fans of our apps, and I love them. But on the other hand, there are also a lot of customers of ours who just use one feature and they don't even know about the other ones. And then I tell them, oh, but you could also set up a meeting. And they say, oh, really? I could? And yeah, it's about discoverability. And I think use cases can help with that.
Yeah, I'm reminded of a quote from Alex Hormozy that a customer, you need to remind them more than you tell them,
Yeah.
because as many times as like and this goes back to my content too, where it's like as many times as I can make a video on how to add a status to Jira, you're still gonna find people that have never added a status to Jira for the first time, and they need to, they need to watch a video on how to add a status to Jira. So it'd be interesting, well, it is interesting that you have features and that you take for granted, and you're like, you have users that are discovering it for the first time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So yeah, that's what we're doing, and I think it aligns pretty well with the Atlassian strategy as well, so that they do not see Jira and Jira Service Management only for developers or developer-related workflows, but also for other business workflows. And I think then use cases make even more sense to not only have it in Jira Service Management, like it's internal ticketing. Yeah, we know that will work, but how about marketing? How about HR? Yeah. And
So
I think
that's a great transition over to the system of work topic. So how are you pivoting to accommodate that system of work a little bit better then?
Yeah, I mean, the system of work just says that the whole company can be connected throughout Jira, and that every aspect of the company can then be linked together within Jira and Jira Align and all the enterprise stuff as well. And I think that is what we always did. We connected teams, and now even it makes even more sense that we always said, I mean, your business team probably doesn't want to go in Jira, right? And because then just stay in Teams then. Just use our app and stay in Teams. But that helps again. We help again to make the adoption to Jira and Jira Service Management a lot easier. And with the shift from a push from Atlassian, on the other hand, to make it more to just make more sense to have everyone on Jira, and we just come from different directions, but we find each other in the middle.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, change is hard, and I feel like Atlassian with the system of work is going after a very hard challenge, right?
Yeah, definitely, it will be a challenge.
Yeah, because your developers, your tech team, they're usually early adopters to technologies, right? They're in IT. But once you start branching out to your legal departments, your supply chains, your marketing, your design teams, your every other team out there, the level of comfort that isn't tell me where to click one or two buttons gets way harder.
Yeah.
But this was actually one of the I would say more important feedbacks we got from customers in Anaheim, but also like from direct feedback talking to support clients, is that they try, like it's easier for them to find team champions inside their team for Jira when they connect with Microsoft, because it's just that they say, okay, we have Jira, we have Jira Service Management. You don't have to log in somewhere else. You don't have to type in a URL. You don't have to get familiar with it. But they find out by using it through Teams that it's quite helpful. And that helps them to adopt Jira throughout their company. And we did get this feedback quite often. So we want to stress on that too, because it just makes sense working. If you have Microsoft, if you have Jira, you can make a lot of use out of that.
Yeah, and it allows your Jira to continue to be a single source of truth, because at the end of the day, the database or the data is centralized into Jira. You just have different vessels or methods of communication to get that data.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is most important, because then you
in the Jira issue or work item.
Right, because then you end up with I've seen teams that are in the Microsoft space. They try to do like Microsoft Teams had like some sort of a Kanban board thing going on one time. And so you have these other solutions. I think SharePoint had like a Kanban sprint planning type of thing that they were trying to do for a while too. And it just then you end up with people, duplicating efforts. But when you can centralize it all with Jira, but still let them use that tool that they're natively comfortable with, you drive huge adoptions.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, we heard that a lot.
Yeah, but also like now we're just talking about the integration part and the benefits of integrating, but talking about why you should integrate it, why it's beneficial for incident management or for internal ticketing, it gives us also more to talk about, because you mentioned that your video with ITSM or the JSM integration video performed quite well on your YouTube channel. And this was only one use case that we've shown, but if we have more use cases like that, and we have more keywords also that people can, okay, I need to have my HR team on board integrating Microsoft or Jira. So we have more communication and more topics, more content that we can bring out and tell people more about it.
Yeah, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right?
Exactly.
You don't know that the tool can do something. Hence why we have Anke here with our marketing.
Yeah, quite a big challenge. That's true.
So I wanted to ask you a hard question, and if you don't want to answer, that's fine. But I'm worried about this, and I wanted to get your perspective. So I was at a team inside the expo, and the partners came out of a I don't know what it was. It was some sort of a meeting, some sort of a presentation from Atlassian where, they were announcing all the Rovo stuff and all the new features that Atlassian was basically announcing at Team 25, right? And I remember one of the partners that I was at their booth, he came in, he's like, well, we got to rethink all of our apps. Like Rovo is going to change a lot of our business and a lot of our use cases. What was Yasoon's reaction to the integrations that Rovo allows versus your guys' strategy?
Well, I don't think Rovo has a completely different approach than ours. So I personally don't think AI will take away every job in every company. So there will still be people, and communication will still be essential. So I believe in people chatting and writing emails and making meetings, and I don't think that layer of communication in a company will stop. But I hope AI will enhance it. And I also hope that we can integrate with Rovo. It is on a long-term roadmap, but I honestly I'm seeing more potentials than threats right now. Because I think our use case is really unique to communication, and I don't think AI can do everything alone.
And also, I think it's a part of the Atlassian strategy shift that has been announced earlier. So we were quite aware that there are things coming, and we are in the lucky position that we are not only focusing on single features. Our app is more like a deeper solution for customers that they can involve into all of their processes, which makes it for us like we're a bit well off with that. That we integrate in so many processes, and that we don't not only bring one dashboard or one spreadsheet to Jira, so we bring a comprehensive use case to our customers, and that brings us in a lucky position. And also, I think integrating with Rovo or Copilot on the Microsoft side it's more like a chance for us, and we just have to see how it makes sense. And then it's not like we have AI now. Hey,
I totally forgot about that, because you're getting hit from two sides, right? Because not just Rovo, but you got Copilot on the other end that also will augment your business as well.
Yeah, but still, Copilot is still in an early stage, and we tested it a lot, and it's still in kind of an early stage. And again, I don't think that it will kill all communication in the company. In my opinion, you always have to have a person who prompts, a person who evaluates what is the output, is the output of any value or not. And with having that layer, there still will be people who have to get in touch with other people.
Yeah, and not to mention, humans inherently have a distrust for machines after watching Terminator and Terminator 2 and Terminator 3. So I think at least some group of demographics inside the workforce are going to be like, nope, I'm not using this Copilot or Robo.
Yeah, and I'm honestly curious. I'm curious to see what Rovo can really do. But they just sent me an email this morning that it will now be soon in our instance. Let's see.
I'm cautiously aware or cautiously optimistic for Rovo. Rovo, I think it's a classic case of the marketing team is saying, "Yay, this, this, this." Down here on the ground floor, I was like, I was trying to do something the other day with Robo, and I'm like, huh, this is gonna take a while because I couldn't figure it out. And not that I'm the smartest person in the room, but I tend to use Jira more than regular users use Jira. And if I am having a hard time figuring it out, then a regular user is gonna have a really, really hard time figuring it out.
Okay. So yeah, I'm excited to test it. We
Well, good luck.
have it yet. So let's see.
Yeah, but I mean, our use cases working with AI or with Rovo, I mean, it makes sense. I think on the top of my mind, I have many ideas. But we're also like, I think it's to wait and see in the Atlassian ecosystem sometimes is a benefit because things change so fast and technology changes so fast. And we want, like, our product is very technologically well developed. And I think we will see where we go from there.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective too, right? Because I feel like with Robo, since it's so powerful, I feel like it's gonna feel like hacks versus having a consistent or well thought out experience. I think users at one point I think people are gonna go, okay, I love this AI stuff, it's awesome. They're gonna try it, and I think they're gonna be disappointed, and they're gonna go back and look for like, okay, let's go back to something that worked.
Yeah, I mean that was my feeling right now when I use Copilot. Actually, there was just like, no, this is not at all what I wanted, Copilot. But I think it will get better over time. But it's still a lot of work to do.
Yeah, we're still a long way. I continuously ask Jira because the vision that I've been sold is, tell me where my bottlenecks are in my company and how to solve them. And until they can do that, I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah.
But when you tried working with Rovo, what were you trying to do?
So I was trying to add, allegedly, because I haven't been able to test it. I got an email on May 1st from Atlassian saying, hey, here's all the cool stuff we announced at Team 25. And one of them is that you can use Rovo, or at least AI, because it didn't really look like it was Rovo, but it turns out that it's Rovo. And you can, I'm stuck on this concept of add a status to a workflow, basic stuff in Jira, right? And allegedly, Rovo can help you create a workflow now. And so I naturally went to the workflows to edit a workflow, because that's in my mind where I would edit a workflow, is in the workflow editor, expecting to see a Rovo button up there, and there was nothing. So I asked my community, I was like, hey, or the champions, I was like, hey, anybody know how I can get my hands on this like workflow magical creator that I just got an email on a month ago?
Really good in the demo.
Yeah. And so one of my colleagues come back and said, oh, you need to go into Rovo Studio and create it over there. And I'm like, well, how do I get to Rovo Studio? And so I got a link to that, and then I click on it, and I finally she gave me some instructions, and I click on it, and nothing shows up. I was like, well, I'm gonna come back to this later when it's more polished. But that was my experience so far. I clicked on two buttons, two places that I was expecting to see things magically start happening. Nothing was magical.
Yeah, I can tell. I mean, that's in the end, it's a matter of a use case again, because you get a nice feature. But in what use case do you use it for? What is your benefit getting out of it? Is it making your life easier, or is it making it harder, or is it like putting you away from a tool you were already working with? So
I just think with tool adoption, right, with technology adoption, you're gonna have a small, and I do mean a small subset of people that are gonna be excited and eager to try a new technology out. 90% of your people are gonna be like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And because it's scary, right? Like you could potentially break your processes and your tools by trying new tools and processes.
Yeah, definitely. If you're in a big company, that could be impactful.
Yeah, especially in a big company, right? Like I had a use case one time where this was like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, when Atlassian was changing their, I don't know if you remember, but back in the day, your epics had an epic name and an epic link to connect those two together. And then you had a parent link to go up above the epic. And Atlassian was transitioning from that chain of command to just parent child, right? And that transition was so bumpy But I had a director who was like, Alex, we need this problem solved. And I'm like, well, there's an early access program, the EAP from Atlassian. And they're like, perfect, just get us on that. And we jumped on that. And one day we came in and all of our epics were gone.
Oh,
Like
no.
all of them were gone. And I called Atlassian. I was like, what's up with this? And they're like, oh, yeah, we're testing things out. I'm like, well, maybe we shouldn't have put it in our production system. And so regaining all that stuff was very painful.
Yeah.
But
no, this is also one thing, like how they will bring Rovo on the road. I'm excited for that in Barcelona as well, because usually they have a few more new things coming in Barcelona. So
yeah, but I still think from an end user perspective, Rovo needs to be completely transparent.
Yeah.
Because the moment that somebody's got to go do stuff or click on stuff or configure stuff or just think about stuff, it's dead. Like there's very, very few people in your companies that are going to be excited or even have time. I think the time variable is going to be the most important, right? Because everybody's doing the work of 10 people.
Yeah.
Right. Which is why your tool is so cool, because instead of having to leave one tool to go think about the same problem in a different tool, you bring them together, and I can on the spot make those meetings, on the spot have those conversations, on the spot have that insight without having because the moment I look away from my screen, my mind has already forgotten the detail, let alone change tools.
Well pointed out. That's true.
Yeah. So that Rovo thing, it's got to be so transparent that you don't think about it.
Yeah, and it's still a long way to go.
A long way. So, last 20 minutes here, why don't we pivot to some fun stuff? Woman of Atlassian in the ecosystem. What was the inspiration? Where are we at with that? Where are we going? What's the future, the vision?
Yeah, actually, it's the first time for me talking outside of the women ecosystem or the women group about this topic, because we have been finding marketplace partners, solution partners, women, during the Atlassian Team flagship conference. So team in Vegas and team in Anaheim and a team in Barcelona. We had a coffee meetup, just the marketplace and solution partners, women, like we just met and talked and to get to know each other better. And it was very informal, but still it was a bit of organizational work. We had to bring all together and be as inclusive as possible, that everybody feels involved. And I really, really liked those coffee meetups. It was for me warming up for a conference where you have to talk to customers, you have to talk about the product, you have to talk about the ecosystem, and not knowing as many people was quite stressful for me. So I was happy to get to know people before the conference started in a more off the record surrounding, that I enjoyed it a lot. And we kept on planning those coffee meetups. We organized ourselves in a Slack channel, but this year in Anaheim, we thought, why is this an informal meeting? We should be a community. We should be an Atlassian community, because we are part of the Atlassian community. We also spread knowledge inside of our group. We network inside of our group. There are many great people, very knowledgeable, tech knowledgeable women. This is why we thought we should be aligned with the Atlassian strategy of the Atlassian Community Champions. And Holly and I, Holly Wright from AppFire, we started as community champions, and we want to professionalize the women meetup.
It's not this one, is it?
It actually is.
Okay.
We have, how many members do we have? 30 and up. But it's
there you are. Look at that. There's you and Holly.
Me. We have one virtual meeting coming up, which is not announced yet. We're still in the planning phase. And the second meeting for this year will be in Barcelona as well. So we might gather around and have a coffee and network again. But the attendees there were many attendees in the years before. I think we had
this year in Anaheim, it was so crowded we couldn't even stay in the Starbucks. We had to leave because there were so many women.
It was buzzing.
Yeah, it was buzzing, and it was great to see how many women really wanted to be there and wanted to connect, and it is a really comfortable atmosphere.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
And also, I think when you meet on the expo floor, it's always like, I work for this company. What company do you work for? And meeting in this community atmosphere, it was more like, I'm a person. I do work for a company, but I'm a person first. So
that is a very interesting perspective, because I totally hear that. Like, it's business on the floor.
Yeah,
It is business on the floor, and yeah, just being outside makes the experience, you bring down that first layer of like, okay, I'm here to conduct business first, and you remember that you're still human.
Yeah. And also, I think I learned a lot from the women. They were there, and also when we met on the expo floor again, it was like, I know you.
I remember you.
Yeah, I remember you. And the vibe was just like great, and I think we can leverage on that, or just build on that, and find out how we can bring this positive vibe to all the community. I'm excited for that.
So what's kind of the plans then? Like, do you plan on starting like a podcast where you're interviewing all the different women in the Atlassian ecosystem? Do you get a shirt?
I'm not a podcast person.
No, you're so great. You're such a natural in front of the camera.
No, as of now, we're focusing on the event part. So
Just
on
the event part?
The networking part, we're still figuring out what our mission is, if we want to broaden, because at the moment it's marketplace partners and solution partners. But we're thinking, because Atlassian is also interested in this initiative, and also we had some customers, like when I talked to women on the expo floor, and I talked about, what did you do this morning, blah, blah, blah. We also thought about, why not doing it for like the broader
No, I have a few female friends that jump onto my live streams a lot. And yeah, they don't work for a partner, they don't work for anything official in the Atlassian ecosystem. They're just customers that love, like, they're Jira admins, and they love this stuff, and I'm assuming they would love to participate in something like that.
Women in the Atlassian ecosystem still are a minority, but they are still a lot. Like, I'm surprised how many great women there are in the ecosystem, and on all parts, like customer parts, ecosystem, like solution partners, marketplace partners, but Atlassian also. I think there is a lot to do with all of those women, but we want to, like, don't lose track of like what, because if you have the women in tech topic, it gets too general. Like, it's not sharp enough to what are you talking about, what issues do you have, what is your target group, what is your main focus at work. So we want to find ourselves still.
How do you balance, like, I don't know that I'm going to ask the right question here, but how do you maintain an ecosystem where women are represented, right? But also make it generic enough that it's interesting to everybody? I don't know. Is that even a thing that you care for?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I talked about that with Holly, because when we wrote the description for the group, we were like, but if there's a man, like if a man wants to come, do we say no? Or should we say yes, but be prepared to talk about how it feels to be a woman in the Atlassian ecosystem? Like, be prepared, or take a picture of us, or I don't know.
No,
But,
it's interesting. So I'll share some personal stories. So I'm an engineer, and in the engineering side of the house, there's not a lot of women. In fact, my wife, I think I mentioned at the beginning, we met in college, and we did college together. She was one of like 10 females in the entire College of Engineering, and I married one of them. And so there's an organization called the Society of Women of Engineers. SWE is the most common one. Have you heard of these? Have you heard of SWE before?
Not yet.
So I think it's a global organization, but it's for female engineers, right? Society of Women Engineers. And given a university campus with 99.999% male, I always found it very interesting, because I would go with my wife, and I'm like, I don't know how you, like, when you have 10 girls in the whole, or 10 women in the whole camp, like, university department for engineering, it was almost always men that were there. And so I don't know, like, I've always felt like maybe that was disrespectful. I don't know if there's a right answer.
I mean, there might be a shift that I gender equality is a thing in the world, depending on who you ask. But I just remember I read through a Stack Overflow study, and I read through, I think it was 2022 to 2023, and Stack Overflow had the question, what gender do you have? And in the first years, they said like it was 99% male and maybe 1% female. I think it's even like maybe it was even less. But then they just skipped the question. In 2023, they didn't ask for your gender anymore. So I was like, okay, we're ignoring the problem now, which is also it's an approach. And it depends on who you ask if it's a problem. But I think in the Atlassian ecosystem, what I like is that the topic can be talked about and that we like find ways and spaces to connect and to exchange thoughts and to help each other. And I feel that this is not only coming from other women, but also from other men. Talking to my colleagues, I have many male colleagues, and I tell them about this initiative, also to Andy and Toby, and everybody is super supportive. And I think this is part of the change that maybe brings more gender equality in the future.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great effort and great initiative. I was talking to, boy, I am horrible with names, but we were talking about the topic of guys. Guy, like how they say, "Hey guys, how are you doing?"
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And well, on the Jira Live, when we open up the episodes, we usually go, "Hey guys and gals," but it's something intentional, right? That we say guys and gals, right? But again, I got to go back and figure out who the heck I was having this conversation with. But the concept was like, she's like, I don't care if you say, "Hey guys," right? She's like, I care less about that. But what drives me insane is when you acknowledge that I'm a woman, and then you realize after the fact that I'm a woman, and then you go, "Hey guys," and then you attack it on after.
Yeah.
So she's like, either don't say, "Hey guys," and then think about it, or just go with it because I don't care. Like, but then it makes it awkward when you're like singling it out, right? That you're saying, "Oh crap, I messed up." There's not just guys here.
Yeah, I mean, language is part of communication makes reality, so I understand that. But also I think if you talk to a person that is genuinely interested in you being part of your business or the ecosystem, I feel that's more important than if they address me as a guy. I don't mind.
Heather Ronnebeck is the person I was talking to. I don't know if you know her. But she was just like, just either stay with the guys or don't say anything, or and then my wife's perspective, right? Because my wife has grown her whole life, right, being a very one of very few females in the very, very male dominated industry. She's like, I don't even want to be called a female engineer. I'm like, she's just like, I'm just an engineer.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a double-edged sword. I mean, on the one hand, I totally get it that it should just make no difference. It should just make no difference if you say in the engineer, it could be female engineer or male engineer. It's just engineer, right? But we're still not there yet. It's still not a 50-50 field.
Yeah.
And to have that awareness, I think, makes it maybe a little more easier to have more representation for female engineers, and to then maybe a little girl sees it and say, "Oh wow, I want to be her." And then
I can be her.
I could be her. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it's not something I've ever thought about too much, because my wife and I have been equals since day one. We've studied the same thing. We've earned the same amount. We've done the same work together. And to her, she's always just been a peer to me, right? And when I was recently, this concept of women in tech came more to light in my life, and I was looking around like, why? Like, not that it sounds ignorant that I'm like, why is it such a big deal? But I understand why it's a big deal. But I've taken it for granted because, again, my wife doesn't, like, we've always just been like, I treat my wife the same way I would have treated anybody else. I don't treat her any special or different because she's a woman, like, And so to me, it hasn't made sense, because I'm like, I've never treated my wife differently or less because she's a female. In fact, I acknowledge that she's smarter than me in every way, shape, or form, and that she's better than me in any way, shape, or form. But it's just not something that we've ever had a label. And so it's weird that when I go out in public and we're like, we have these women efforts, I'm like, how are we still here? Like, why aren't we equal?
Yeah, and that's great that this is your case, but I don't think it's
Yeah, that's what I'm realizing. That's what I'm seeing. It's eye opening, and that's why I'm supportive, and I tell my wife, get involved as much as you can, because her perspective has been that grow as an engineer, her biggest challenges have not been with the males, but with other females that are also engineers. Like other female engineers have tried to put her down. Other female engineers have tried to make it so that she's not successful.
Yeah.
And I thought that was weird. She's like, I'm bullied more by females than I am by the males.
That's not ideal. No.
Yeah, so that's why I think efforts like yours are very key, right? To bring everybody together, or at least bring all the women in Atlassian together and go, we're here and we're in this together.
Yeah, that should be the aim, to support each other.
And also what I like about the Women of the Atlassian Ecosystem approach is I'm a woman in tech, but I'm not a tech woman in tech. And this is also a difference. So when I talk to Janette from Refine, for example, she's a tech woman in tech, but she's an inspiration for me. She respects what I do, and I'm like inspired of what she's doing. So this is also a way of connecting in the field, even though you're not having the tech role, but you're also a woman in tech, and it's also something to reflect on, that you can help each other, even though that you're not working in the exact same field. And it's all about supporting each other and getting the best of what you can do together. Oh, that was such a marketing claim.
I know. That should be your tagline there. But I love that, the tech woman in tech. That I think is an important indicator, because I think my wife is definitely like a tech woman in tech, right? But her belief is just like, well, I'm just a woman.
Yeah. As a tech woman in tech, you have a different pain point, I would say, as like a regular woman in tech, because I feel we had an interview series. It was a German interview series with women in tech in general, where we tried to understand what is because we want to hire women in tech, like tech women in tech, and we wanted to understand what their problems were, and where they got along in their career. And the voices were so different. Some of them were not even like they were striving in their field, and some of them had really big troubles being a woman in a male-dominated field. But in the end, it depends on the individual, and to be heard and to talk to each other and to see how you can make the best of working in a field that is super.
Yeah, no, that's always been a huge concern of ours, because we've been on top of it our whole careers. Because my wife, when she had her first kid, she took 3 years off, right? And as a woman, like that, 3 years in a tech career, that is like 30 years, right? At the rate of innovation that technology happens. So that was challenging for us to figure out, okay, so how do you get back in?
Yeah.
Right? How do you jump back in? How do you stay current? How do you stay relevant with the changes? But motherhood is a very real thing that as men we don't treat parenthood as the same way as motherhood, right? Like,
yeah, true.
It's drastically different, because we don't have the same attachment, we don't have the same bond. My wife took 3 years for the first one, but with the second one, we moved to Southern California. We moved back to Southern California, and it was expensive. And I remember just seeing the pain in my wife that first drive to work after 6 weeks instead of 3 years. And it was one of these things where, like, as a society, we got to do better, because this isn't okay. Like, that's why I personally think that, like, COVID was a blessing, because it allowed so many working moms to be at home with their children and have that experience without having to, only see them for 3 to 4 hours. Sorry, what was that?
And working dads.
Yeah, it was a blessing for that.
It was like, for me, our kids, we homeschool our kids, so we've been at home every day together since 2020.
Okay.
And I also tell my wife, that we are married. We've been married for 15 years. We're coming up on our 15-year anniversary, But
Yes.
thanks. But from a mathematical perspective, the amount of time that we spent together over the last 5 years, we're probably like 40 years into our marriage. Because most couples only spend, 3, 4, 5 hours together.
Oh.
But for the last 5 years, we've spent, I don't know, 70,000 hours together. However many hours there are in a year. Times
married. Yeah. That's great.
That's a fireproof marriage, if you ask.
But it gives you again I think there's a lot of interesting topics to discuss with Atlassian, with women in the Atlassian ecosystem, right? And how do you balance, work, family, chores, because not just the equality, it's not just the representation, it's the responsibilities and the pressures that you have.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, lots of things to do.
Yep. Well, we are at the end, and I feel like we didn't get to talk about everything, but hopefully y'all enjoyed this conversation. And
of course,
totally. Thank you, Alex, for having us.
And well, thank you both for being here. I'll see you in Barcelona. I booked my flight. I booked my ticket.
Great.
For the conference. Ronnie, the Jira guy, is working out the details on a hotel. So if you see me sleeping outside the conference, Ronnie dropped the ball.
We trust Rodney.
I don't know. I might want to have a plan B.
And we will bring some more sweets for you.
Okay. Yeah. The little piggies, whatever they were in the Kinder ones, those were phenomenal. I don't know what they were, but those were good. We have Kinder chocolates here, but they're nothing like that.
Yeah, Kinder is going crazy in Germany. Like the Kinder sweets, I love them as well.
Me too.
Yeah. So those are good. We just have the eggs. We have the little eggs here, the chocolate eggs.
Yeah,
but the Mexican eggs are much better. My mother-in-law brings me the Mexican Kinder chocolate eggs. Those are way, way better.
Okay. And also the toys and cider, they changed a lot, the toys and cider.
Yeah, the US ones are anti-choke hazards.
Oh, okay.
Gotta be sure.
The Mexican ones, they're like, kid would just swallow it. They'll be fine. So anyways, thank you ladies for being here. I appreciate it. And anytime you want to come back, let me know.
Yeah, we will. Thank you.
Bye-bye.